Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now on today's show, we're gonna quickly dabble back to Friday's show, which was when I was talking about that footage of the M50. I hope you guys checked it out. And that was just to kind of reinforce the point that the game, the important parts of the game, the beautiful parts of the game are outside of the cockpit, you know? There's always such an emphasis on, having these MFDs, and that's a topic we can visit again on it at another day. But the real game, the beautiful part of the game, is outside of the cockpit, and that's kind of, where I think a lot of people, when they kind of want to get to a granular level and they want to have every switch and dial and knob do something, they forget that the real game is the universe that's outside of your cockpit, and the cockpit is just this functional element that allows you to interact with it. And so kind of focusing a little too much on that granular level, I think it detracts from the overall game. But enough of that. Let's move on to another slightly controversial topic, which was what I said about Squadron 42. So more than my usual daily downvote on that video, and I kind of wanted to go back to that and talk about it some more, because to be perfectly honest, when I look at something like Squadron 42, not excited about it. When I look at something like Operation Pitchfork, I'm vastly more excited for Operation Pitchfork. I think Operation Pitchfork, for me, for my interests, is going to be better than Squadron 42. Now, I think that realistically, the biggest problem that Squadron 42 has, from my point of view, subjectively, from my point of view, the biggest problem that Squadron 42 has is that it's a single-player game. Had the co-op not been removed from Squadron 42, I would be all aboard for Squadron 42. If we literally could be Squadron 42, instead of being a single player going on an adventure, if we could fight these battles as a group of players, if we could go through the story in lockstep with other players, I think that would be a vastly superior experience to simply playing through a single player campaign on your own. I mean, think about it. Like, let's say there's many of you out there. All of you have different interests, different things. Maybe there's a lot of you who like to fly the Gladiator or the Super Hornet or whatever. But imagine participating in one of these big cinematic battles, not just as yourself, but as a group. Like, think about, let's say, Rogue One. Pretty much, I'm sure all of you have seen Rogue One. Remember the big space battle at the end, and they have the different groups of fighters. There's Red Squadron, Blue Squadron, RIP, and Gold Squadron. Now, imagine if you could get together with all your org mates, all your friends, and play not as yourself in that battle, but play as Gold Squadron, working together to achieve your goal. And, you could set up various times during the week. I mean, it would be much like when me and my friends get together on Tuesday nights to raid. We always set that time aside. We always show up and we just go, okay, boom, let's go. Let's hit our raid. Let's get our gear. Let's get our progression, yada, yada, yada. The same thing for Squadron 42. If you break the game up and say, okay, here's the single player campaign, but here's your co-op campaign. If co-op had never been dropped and players were able to progress through the story like that, playing together, I think that would have been a vastly superior experience to just a single player campaign. I think shared combat and shared experiences, not just like saying, oh, I just did mission such and such and I saw the big thing at the end of it. Oh yeah, I saw that. That was cool. But to see it together, to experience it together is so much better than to have just that, oh, I did this thing by myself. It's better to have your friends around. I mean, if you sit back and you look at something like Squadron 42 and you just say, what if I could get my whole org together? And this is, you know, this is the thing that we do. Even if we have certain single player missions or maybe a few 2-player missions, 3-player missions, as they're designed and everyone gets to fulfill a role, players can still go off within their own game. They can do the side stories. They can go talk to this person, that person, see how they're feeling today. All of that crap. But you can still bring players together at certain chapters or certain points within the story for kind of like a big epic space battle. And you could kind of get your whole org together. Maybe your org's got enough fighter pilots that you could be both Red Squadron and Gold Squadron. You could get all your Gladiator pilots together and their Gladiators and all your Hornet pilots together and their Hornets, and they could all work together as a team to achieve the objective of the mission. And maybe there's some added benefit or some unlock or achievement that comes along with that. You know, I think that if you kind of played it out that way, I'd be a lot more interested in it. And I think it would probably benefit the community a lot more, because it would kind of ingrain and teach those ideas of teamwork, of working together as a unit, of everyone is kind of like a part in this machine that when they work in unison, they can achieve a lot more than they can achieve on their own. Now, if you pull out of the Squadron 42 idea and you pull into, say, the context of an Operation Pitchfork, now you're looking at perhaps a less organized, a less structured environment, where it's more or less people just getting together spontaneously and doing one thing together. Now, it may not be as organized as, say, within the structure of a video game, but I think ultimately it's going to be a far more epic experience to see, like, possibly 100, maybe 150, 200. I mean, given how the servers are playing out right now, not so much. But I mean, if they could get to that point, if they could get to that point of stability, I think that that kind of a shared experience would be so epic and would be so amazing. I think once in the past I had referred to this, but you know, in World of Warcraft during the Legion launch events, there was this event where, you know, demons were invading various places on the map and players, and it was level agnostic, and that's kind of an important factor, is players were traveling from point to point to point, defeating these invasions as they dropped on the map. And so as players were going along to these different areas, you would see these flights of hundreds of mounts in the sky, every mount that you could think of just flying along in the sky. And on the ground, for all the players who were using these events to level, there was just these huge armies just rolling across, you know, the Barrens and all the way down to Ratchet, and then going around to Westfall through Stranglethorn Vale, all this stuff. It was such an epic experience that even though there were Alliance players and Horde players, and I couldn't talk to most of these players, just the fact that everyone was there doing this thing together was an amazing experience. And it's something that I hope is something that translates into Star Citizen. I hope things like Operation Pitchfork are only the beginning. I hope that I was about to say Blizzard. I hope that CIG looks at what Operation Pitchfork kind of plays out as, what it kind of teaches them about the player community and the game, and not just, I think, from a hardware end, like, oh, if we want to have more events like this, we got to have X amount of servers set aside with X properties to how they run and such hardware so that everything works smoothly or better the next time. But beyond that, I hope that they look at this kind of these organic gatherings of players and they say, you know, that was a truly epic experience. How do we magnify that experience, and how do we enable them to have that experience perhaps on a more frequent basis, whether it's spontaneous Vanduul invasions or incursions or raids into several border systems, and it's kind of like an all hands on deck. Everybody goes in, they stop the Vanduul, various rewards, whatever, however that all works out. You know, those types of things I think are far more rewarding experiences than just the single player experience. Certainly, if you look at a game like EVE Online, when I used to play that game very heavily, you know, I had certain interesting single player experiences, you know, getting out of a level 4 mission with like 1% hull or some crazy shit like that. But the things that I really remember, the things that really stick out to me, is coming out of warp with my entire fleet of Tech 2 battleships and then engaging in this long range battle with another fleet, you know, shots going this way and that experience of, you know, trying to follow the targets and, you know, all of that, when you're sitting there and you're thinking like, oh man, that was like a crazy 10 minutes, and it was like, no, that was actually over an hour worth of space battle, and you're like, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like those experiences were just amazing. And they were experiences that when I think back to that game, those are immediately what pop into my mind. I have to kind of reach back to find the level 4 missions that I ran, or, you know, the POS that I helped set up. That kind of stuff, it's in there, but it's filed away in the back. The stuff up at the front are the big space battles and, you know, flying past giant capital ships and things like that, and finally getting capital ships of my own. Those are those big fleet battles were really just incredible experiences, and I feel that yeah, that's what I look forward to. And so when I see Squadron 42 and I see a game that has so many amazing innovations in terms of graphics, in terms of detail, in terms of animations, and bringing the characters in the game to life, I feel that in kind of shedding the co-op and kind of going, you know, the easy route with a single player campaign, I feel that that was the one innovation that, at least to me, the co-op mattered the most. That was the thing that really would have been a big seller for me, and the fact that it's not there, whereas it's out there in the regular universe or something like Operation Pitchfork, gets me a lot more excited about the Star Citizen, I guess the family of games, rather than just, you know, playing along through, you know, a single player space campaign with Mark Hamill, which is cool, but, you know, I think it would be a lot better if it was really Squadron 42, and Squadron 42 was in fact all of my friends. Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave that thought. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.